Today's question on tactics and marketing: why did I choose a podcast? All right, let's get into that. This is Tactics and Marketing. It is your quick episodes that allow you to learn about different things that are happening in the world of marketing. My name is Chris Milton, and I'm happy to be answering your questions that help you become a better marketer. So, yeah, why did I choose a podcast in this format? Well, number one, it's pretty easy from a production perspective. It doesn't require anybody to be anywhere. It doesn't force me to have a particular format or a setup. You can see just filming in my office with a blank wall is good enough to be able to have a lot of content get out there. And so that is reason number one. It is a light setup and something that's easy to do. And I think that's something that anybody can duplicate. Number two is that this allows me to have more content on more platforms than any other format. Number one, right now, there's a big battle, I guess you could say, for where listeners are going to be, and that's mainly between YouTube and Spotify. And I think that's a big opportunity that a lot of people are potentially not watching close enough and not seeing that there's an audience to be built on many different platforms, and that allows you to really get more reach. And so a podcast allows there to be a format that's designed to be consumed in many different ways. Some of you might be listening to this as just audio. Some of you might be watching it as video, and some of you might be just watching one of the clips or one of the things that is been repurposed into a social media post or into a blog post. So that level of versatility and reach is another reason that I chose to create a podcast. Number three, it is a great way where the format is so incredibly versatile. And in this setup and in this goal and for tactics of marketing, the idea is that we can get to 1,000 questions answered about marketing. And so the more questions that we get in, obviously the faster we're going to get to that 1,000 mark. But it's also something that allows me to create in different formats. Some of these episodes are going to be 5 minutes, some of them are going to be 20, and that really depends on the depth of the answer that's needed based on what's being asked. And so this is something that I found to be as close to what's required in the marketplace, and something that I can also use to refer to people that have a quick question. And so if a question were to come up today that's already been answered on the show, that's an easy way for me to send someone that link that lives as a blog post on our website that has the content itself as a blog, and then also the video below if they want to watch it, and a video and a link below to be able to listen to the audio. So it gives a really easy way to share answers down the road that is a lot faster than responding to every single question individually. And the last part of it is growth. So in terms of the content platform, I personally believe that the fastest growing platform is going to continue to be audio content. And that's not to say that there's other formats that aren't growing as well, but the overall growth within the target market that I particularly have is going to be listening to more. And that kind of has a couple of factors. Number one, it's more accessible than ever before. We're driving more vehicles that have some sort of integration with with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It also is where we can listen to it on all of our smartphones, and the saturation of smartphone users is obviously through the roof as well. And it's really easy to also find desktop versions of everything. And so, much like it was really easy to have Facebook 10 years ago because of that exact same reason, that it was accessible on many different platforms, we're now getting that from an audio and video perspective. It's really straightforward, it's really easy to learn and share. And I think that that growth within the target market that I'm trying to capture, which is business owners, other agency owners, and marketers, that this is a way that we can get in touch with more people and get in touch with the right people. If my target market was much younger or skewing to a particular region in the world where it wasn't as growth focused on the audio side, it probably wouldn't be something that would be the right format for me. And so that's not to say that this is what you must be doing in 2025 and beyond. It's just to say that this is the right fit for us and our particular audience. And the last point is this is also an example of what we can do for our clients. And one of the questions that we get asked a lot is, I don't want to have guests on my podcast. I get the power of what we're going to be doing, but how do I do that as a solo podcast? And I wanted to be able to have an example of what I would do and what my approach would be, and how this is something that can be created for almost any business. And that's a really interactive FAQ. And so I wanted to be a steward of what we're doing as a service that we're also offering, which is full scale podcast production that has a really great long tail effect because of how we pair it with our SEO service. And that's probably a unique take on the market of what content marketing firms and SEO firms are doing and what podcast production companies are doing. And we've managed to find a really good fit that is a hybrid of both, that gets really great traction, both as the content is being created, but also as the other outputs that we can create when it starts as content that's audio and video. To kind of build on that a little bit more, I know I said the last one was the last point, but I also find that one of the reasons that talking head videos and podcast episodes are going to continue to grow is because of the amount of content that is generated through AI. And that this is a way to capture your authentic voice. And that's something that is going to be a good representation of your brand, and that has a synergy between meeting you in person and being able to consume more content that is also from you. So if someone were to meet me at a conference and say hi, and we spend a couple minutes just getting to know each other, if they're really interested in what I do, this is a great way to be able to get down that rabbit hole and really understand more about how we leverage podcasts, how we have a unique take on content marketing, how we work in specific industries, and why we've chosen those industries. And my goal is that if somebody was really interested, they could kind of catch up on the things that we've been doing over the past few years by doing a deep dive into the content that we have on our YouTube channel, as well as the content that we have living on Spotify. And so this is an extension of those content, those contacts, and those interactions that happen while networking. And I think that's something that is really duplicatable for any of you out there that are listening or watching in order to build your brand. And I believe a year from now, if you were to keep this up and do one episode per week at minimum, you'd be in an incredible place by comparison to your competitors, both because of how much of a barrier you would be creating to a prospect wanting to work with you versus your competitors, because of how warm they would feel getting to know you through your content versus just reading blog posts or just having written FAQs. But two, it's also something that I think will provide the highest ROI. That if you were to look at how to spend an hour doing marketing each week, there's no way I wouldn't tell you to do this. Get in front of the camera. It's an easy setup, and it's something that without much editing, you could push publish on without feeling like you need to have an incredibly long and detailed editing process like you'd have to doing, a case study on a particular project you worked on as a video. This is something that you can be quick, simple, and get it out there for people to understand. So that's why we've chosen Tactics to Marketing to be this big collection of answers about marketing, and why it's first as a podcast and then gets pushed out to all other platforms. So that is today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back with more very shortly.